in problem set 9, we're going to reinforce what we just talked about in problem set 8. We're going to focus on the difference between multiplication and addition of integers. It's important that you don't get these two things mixed up. Look at these two problems. It helps if you remember, like, first of all, say it out loud. This is negative 5 plus negative 3. This is negative 5 times negative 3. So if you have a way of thinking of it in terms of money maybe, or the number line, you're adding two negative numbers together, it's more negative always, right? But when you multiply two negatives together, we'll talk about this. There's a couple of reasons. It's coming up. But this turns out to be a positive number. Negative 5 times negative 3 is positive 15. We'll get into that. But for now, just take it as a property. So you need to know that this table, it's not something, again, don't memorize it. You should understand why these things are true. I claim that multiplication is easier than addition for this reason right here. When you multiply two integers with different signs, it's always negative, right? But when you add integers with different signs, it depends on which is bigger, see? Adding is kind of tricky, isn't it? At least with multiplication, you always know whether it's positive or negative. Anyway, so here we go. Let's do some more problems, and I'll give you something to try. But you got to get this down really, really well. Everything we're doing the rest of the quarter hinges on this. My advice is to say it out loud. This is negative 4 times 7. Negative times a positive, always negative. This is negative 4 plus 7, depends on which is bigger. Since the positive one's bigger, remember you could subtract 7 minus 4 and get 3, and it's positive 3 because the bigger one's positive. Remember that? What is this? This is negative 4 plus 7. Isn't that the same as this one? Aren't these two exactly the same? Why would they do that to us? Anyway, let's see. What do we get here? You better get 3 because it's exactly the same problem as this. It's just written differently. What's this? This is negative 4 times negative 7, which would be a positive 28. This is negative 8 times 11. You know it's negative because it's a negative times a positive. Negative 88. This is negative 8 times negative 11, which is positive 88. This is negative 6 times 6, which is negative 36. This is negative 6 plus 6. What's that equal to? 0. A couple more. This one is, this one's negative 6 times negative 6, which is positive 36. And this is negative 5 times 0, which is 0. Anything times 0 is 0, isn't it? All right. Okay, let's do a couple more, then I'll give you some to practice. Negative 5 plus 0 is just negative 5. This is interesting. Look, we've got three numbers we're multiplying. We have negative 3 times 4 times negative 2. How would you do this? Well, can I use the commutative law? Is it okay if I multiply the negative 3 times the negative 2 and get positive 6? Can you do that? Yeah, remember the commutative law applies to multiplication, so you can do that. 6 times 4 is 24. There you go. How about this? What if you have 4 numbers? How would you multiply those 4 numbers together? Well, there's several ways, but I would do the same thing. I'd multiply the two negatives together and get positive 10. The two positives together and get 12. Then when you multiply those together, you get 120. What's negative 2 times 6 plus negative 4 times negative 3? Well, by the order of operations, you do the multiplications first, right? So this becomes a negative 12. This becomes a positive 12. The answer is 0. Go ahead and hit the pause button and see if you can do these. We'll go over them in just a minute. Okay, here we go. My advice is to read it out loud. And also, you really need to know why the rules work. If you're just memorizing rules, it's really hard to remember those. But try to remember why. Why is it that a negative times a positive is always negative? Remember we were talking about writing this in additive form, right? Remember that? So negative 3 times 8 would be negative 24. This is negative 3 plus 8. Remember how that works too. So you have to understand why it's working. Otherwise, you're asking for trouble. What does this one say? This is negative 3 plus negative 8. You're adding two negatives together. It's more negative, right? Negative 11. Here you're multiplying two negatives. Negative 3 times negative 8 is positive 24. This is negative 5 times 9. Remember, when you multiply a negative times a positive, it's always negative. What's the difference between the number 19 and number 20? Aren't they exactly the same? This is negative 5 times 9. Just another way to write it. You got to get used to that. Things aren't always written the same way. This is negative 7 times 7, which is negative 49. This is negative 7 plus 7, which is 0. How about this one? This is interesting. Negative 0 times negative 3. What is negative 0? You know what that equals? Negative 0? It's the opposite of 0, or the additive inverse of 0. Isn't the opposite of 0, 0? So this is just 0 times negative 3, which is 0. And here we have negative 5 times 0 times negative 12. Well, hopefully you'd look at this and realize the answer is 0. Whenever you multiply numbers and one of them 0, doesn't the whole thing have to be 0? Because once you multiply 0 times anything, that'll be 0. And then you just keep multiplying things by 0 and it stays 0. So you can save yourself some time if you recognize that. Here we follow the order of operations. This is negative 13 plus negative 2 times negative 7 is 14. Final answer is 1. This one, last one here, you're multiplying negative 5 times 4 plus negative 10 times negative 2. You get negative 20 plus 20, which is 0. Alright, well, it's important that you get this down because, like I said, everything we're going to do the rest of the quarter hinges on your skill working with multiplication and addition and not getting them confused. Alright, we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.